clever cakes and other stories. Gobble Guts. Giant Gobble Guts lived in a cave and ate children. As soon as the children in the little village of No were big enough, Gobble Guts came raging down from the mountain, grabbed them, threw them into his big bad bag and took them back to his cave. There he boiled them up in his great stinking stewing pot and gobbled them down. Oh, he was truly horrible, and hairs grew out of his nose. The last two children left in the village of No were twins. "We're all alone," the two girls said to each other, "with no one to play with." Flit and Flat, for those were their names, were still very, very small, but they knew that soon they would be big enough for giant Gobble Guts. And if they knew they were big enough, then you can be sure giant Gobble Guts knew too. "Let's not wait for him to come and get us," said Flit to Flat. "Let's go and find him." Up the mountain they walked towards giant Gobble Guts' cave. When they were nearly there, they came face to face with him and his horrible hairy nose. "Who are you?" he roared. "We're Flit and Flat, and we were looking for you, Gobble Guts," said Flit and Flat. "Oh, were you?" Gobble Guts said, and he reached down and put them in the big bad bag. Then he turned round and marched back towards his cave and the stinking stewing pot. "Now's my dinner for today," he said. The girls took no notice and played foggy plonks in the big bad bag. About halfway to the cave, Flit hopped out of the big bad bag and started throwing stones up to her sister, and she put the stones in the bag. When the big bad bag was full, both girls jumped away and ran off home. Gobble Guts got back to his cave and lay down to rest. "When I wake up, I'll have dinner. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Lovely juicy children for dinner." He slept and snored for a day or two. When he woke up, he opened the big bad bag, and all he found was a heap of stones. He thumped the walls of the cave and wailed, "I've been tricked." A few days later, giant Gobble Guts came out of his cave and marched down the mountain. Flit and Flat came out to meet him and his horrible hairy nose. "Aha! There you are, girls. I was looking for you." "We were looking for you," said Flit and Flat. Once again he reached down and put them into the big bad bag and marched back up the mountain towards his cave and the stinking stewing pot. "Ha ha! Now here's my dinner for today," he said. The girls took no notice and played knuckle bashing in the big bad bag. About halfway to the cave, Flat hopped out of the big bad bag and picked off a chunk of sticky resin that was oozing out of a tree trunk. And again she hopped out and ran from tree to tree until she had a great sticky load of it. Then both Flit and Flat smeared it all over the back of giant Gobble Guts' jacket. When that was done, they hopped out and ran away off home. Gobble Guts got back to his cave and lay down to rest. "When I wake up, I'll have dinner. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Juicy children for dinner." He slept and snored for a day or two, but when he tried to get up, he found he was stuck to the ground. How he roared and shouted. The mountain shook with the noise of it. "Wow, I've been tricked," he wailed. A few days later, giant Gobble Guts came out of his cave again and marched down the mountain. Flit and Flat came out to meet him and his horrible hairy nose. "Aha! There you are, girls. I was looking for you." "We were looking for you," said Flit and Flat. Once again he reached down and put them into his big bad bag and marched up the mountain back to his cave and the stinking stewing pot. "Now here's my dinner. Aha, for today," he said. The girls took no notice and played nose squashing in the big bad bag. About halfway to the cave, Flit and Flat hopped out and covered each other with mud, thick, squelchy mud all over. Gobbleguts got back to his cave and said, "This time I won't lie down for a rest first. That's how those two little devils tricked me last time. I'll fling them into my stinking stewing pot right now." And he did, and then lay down to rest. "When I wake up, I'll have dinner. Oh, yes. Oh, juicy children for dinner." He slept and snored for a day or two. Inside the stinking stewing pot, the thick mud on Flit and Flat cooled the water down and kept them from burning. When the water was cold enough, they sat in the mud, scraping the mud off themselves into the stew. And then they hopped out and ran away off home. When Giant Gobbleguts woke up, he thought, "Aha! Oh, yes, wonderful children's stew at last." He got the stinking stewing pot bubbling and boiling. And when it was all hot and steamy, he dipped in his great big spoon and, mud soup. "Wow! I've been tricked," he wailed. And that was just about as much as he could take of those tricky little twins. And he didn't come down the valley ever again to find children to eat. Now, it'd be great if you subscribed. That is, you become a subscriber. Look out for the subscribe button. What happens, you see, is that I make new vids every few months, and then I post them up one a week for a while. So if you subscribe, you get to see the new ones just as they come hot off the press. Ew.